sharp poke on my shoulder was my first warning. I didn't even need to turn around to know what it was. That particular brand of aggressive prod, usually from someone who's convinced you're personally responsible for their bad day, screamed Karen even before I saw her. And yeah, there she was, practically breathing fire, her face a thundercloud. This wasn't going to be a quiet lunch. My friend, Sarah, and my dad were still deep in conversation back at our table. Oblivious. We were just enjoying a pretty chill Saturday afternoon at this decent bistro, good food, good company. I'd just gotten up to quickly say hi to an old buddy I spotted across the room when the ambush happened. "Are you the manager?" she snarled, her voice tight with a kind of privileged fury. She wasn't asking, she was demanding, already certain of the answer. I pivoted slowly, giving her my most, "Who, me, look?" "Excuse me?" I asked, playing dumb mostly because I was genuinely trying to figure out if she thought my slightly rumpled t-shirt was a uniform. Her eyes narrowed. "Don't play coy. I've been waiting for a table for over an hour. This is unacceptable. Are you the manager or not?" "Ma'am," I said, trying to keep my voice even, "I'm just a customer, same as you. My table's right over there." I gestured vaguely back towards Sarah and my dad, hoping she'd just move on. Big mistake? My polite denial only seemed to supercharge her. Her eyes, already narrowed, now practically shot lasers. "Just a customer? Don't lie to me. You look like you work here. Get me a manager. Or better yet," she stomped past me, aiming directly for our table. "I'll talk to your supervisor." My dad, bless his perpetually calm heart, saw her coming, a strange glint in his eye. Sarah, however, looked like she'd just watched a particularly aggressive alien land in front of us. Karen marched right up to Dad, puffing herself up. "I don't know who you think you are, letting your staff treat customers like this, but I've been waiting." Before she could even finish her tirade, Dad slowly clapped a hand to his chest, his eyes widening. A single dramatic tear seemed to well up. Then another. And then he started very slowly to sniffle. A moment later, he was full on, theatrical fake crying, wobbling his lower lip like a cartoon baby. Oh, the indignity, he blubbered, dramatically wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. My poor boy, accused of such things. I raised him better than this. A simple meal with his old pa, and now this monster is bullying him. Sarah, who'd been frozen in disbelief, quickly caught on to Dad's brilliant, unhinged performance. She jumped up, putting an arm around Dad's shoulder. "Hey!" Leave him alone," she snapped at Karen, playing the protective daughter role to perfection. "He's just trying to have a nice time. You're being a bully." Karen stopped dead in her tracks, her jaw slack. The sheer audacity, the public spectacle of Dad's over-the-top grief, coupled with Sarah's sudden defense, completely threw her. Patrons at nearby tables were starting to discreetly watch, some struggling to suppress smiles. Karen's face went from furious red to a deeper mottled crimson. She was speechless, humiliated, and utterly outmaneuvered. With a strangled gasp, she grabbed her purse and practically sprinted for the exit, not even bothering to look back. We all held our breath for a second. Then Alex's dad, Sarah, and I erupted into silent, shaking laughter. Dad wiped away his tears and gave us a proud, mischievous wink. But Karen wasn't quite done making a spectacle. We watched through the window as she burst out of the restaurant, still fuming, and immediately started yelling at someone just outside the entrance. It was the actual manager, who must have been on a break or just stepped out. We saw the manager trying to calm her down, but Karen just escalated, waving her arms wildly, pointing back at the restaurant. A minute later, the manager reappeared, walking briskly over to us. He wasn't smiling. "Everything okay over here?" he asked, though his eyes were on us and he already looked tired. "That woman, she's quite something," he sighed. "She started yelling at me when I tried to tell her we had a 20-minute wait. Not an hour. And then she called me some pretty colorful names." He looked out the window again, where Karen was now pacing, still muttering loudly. "I'm sorry, folks, but I've just informed her she's been charged with disorderly conduct, and the police are on their way." Our jaws collectively dropped. Dad whistled low. The manager gave a small, apologetic shrug. She wouldn't calm down, kept yelling after I asked her to leave, swore she was going to ruin my restaurant. There's only so much you can do. Good thing you all handled it better than she did. He winked at Dad. That was quite the performance, sir. I almost believed you myself. We spent the rest of our lunch occasionally glancing out the window, where two police officers eventually arrived and had a very stern-looking conversation with a now significantly less loud, very red-faced Karen. She looked like all the air had gone out of her, finally realizing her entitlement had landed her in some serious hot water. We had a pretty damn good laugh about it, mostly about Dad's incredible fake tears. But honestly, watching that whole thing unfold, you just have to shake your head. Some people truly think the world revolves around them, until it slaps them with a dose of reality, and maybe a police report.
If you're still watching, you're clearly into this stuff. Go ahead and subscribe. I've got more stories just like these. Now, on to the last one.
He was in my face, veins popping in his neck, the spittle from his mouth landing on my cheek as he bellowed, You're security, don't you dare lie to me. I saw you talking to that girl, acting all innocent, but I know what you are. All I could think was, I just want a damn white shirt. And maybe don't clock this idiot. It all started an hour earlier with a simple, stupid mistake. My name's Cameron, and I was already running late for a date. My girlfriend, bless her patience, isn't a fan of tardiness. So, naturally, I was trying to multitask, sipping on a red Gatorade as I drove. Big mistake. One too fast gulp, and suddenly a vibrant crimson stain was blooming across the pristine white of my shirt. Great. Just fantastic. A quick phone search led me to the nearest Ross. I peeled into the parking lot, practically throwing my car into a space and hustled inside. I was on a mission. Find a white shirt, pay, and get out. No time for browsing, no time for nonsense. I zoomed straight to the men's section, eyes scanning for anything white in my size. That's when I first noticed him. A middle-aged guy, probably in his late 50s, standing a few aisles over just staring. Not a curious stare, but a really intense, almost accusatory one. I shrugged it off. Some people are just weird, right? I kept hunting for shirts. A few minutes later, as I was rifling through a rack of polos, I felt a presence. I turned, and there he was, standing uncomfortably close, a sneer twisting his mouth. Really? He practically hissed, his eyes narrowed. I frowned, genuinely confused. Excuse me? He just scoffed, shaking his head slightly. You know what you're doing? Then he turned sharply and walked off. What the hell was that about? My fuse was already short thanks to the Gatorade incident, but I just took a deep breath. Focus. Cameron, shirt. Date. The men's section was a bit of a labyrinth, and I was struggling to find anything that wasn't patterned or stained. After a couple more frustrating minutes, I spotted an actual Ross employee, a young woman restocking shelves a few aisles away. I approached her, trying to be polite despite my growing impatience. Hey, sorry to bother you, but I'm looking for a plain white dress shirt, size large. Are they usually over here or somewhere else? She was super helpful, actually. No problem at all. We've got a section right this way with all the basic dress shirts. She led me around a corner, pointing out a well-organized display. You should find what you need here. I thanked her, relieved, and started sifting through the options, and that's when the real fun began. I heard a sudden guttural roar from behind me. Aha! I knew it! My head snapped around. It was him, the staring guy. But he wasn't just staring now, he was storming towards me, face bright red, finger jabbing the air. You're security, aren't you? Don't you dare play dumb. I saw you talking to her, asking where the shirts were, like you're just a customer. You're undercover, trying to catch people, aren't you? He was literally screaming now, drawing the attention of half the store. My blood ran cold, then boiled. This guy was insane. Whoa, buddy, calm down. I tried, holding up my hands. I don't work here. I'm just trying to buy a shirt. Liar, he shrieked, stepping even closer, practically invading my personal space. His eyes were wide, manic. You think I'm stupid? I see you eyeing people, pretending to browse. You're going to get caught, you hear me? I'll report you. You'll be fired. His voice rose another octave, a high-pitched, furious whine. You people are all the same. always trying to catch honest shoppers. Dude, I said, my voice dangerously low, trying to maintain some semblance of calm. I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't work at Ross. I'm a customer just like you, and frankly, you're really pissing me off. The sheer audacity of me, a supposed undercover security guard, telling him off seemed to momentarily short-circuit his brain. He actually paused, his mouth hanging open a little, a flicker of something that looked like fear, or maybe just genuine disbelief, crossing his face. But it only lasted a second, then his fury reignited. You're threatening me? I'll call the police. You can't just harass customers. He started rummaging frantically in his pocket, probably for his phone, still glaring at me like I was a criminal mastermind. By this point, the actual Ross employee who'd helped me was hurrying over, looking mortified. Other shoppers were staring, some filming on their phones. I just wanted to disappear. Look, I said, ignoring him, talking to the employee. I'm sorry about this. I'm just gonna grab a shirt and go. I snatched a white polo from the rack, not even checking the size properly, and started speed walking towards the checkout. The guy continued to yell after me, his voice a fading buzz of accusations. I paid for the shirt in a daze, my hands shaking slightly. The whole experience left me boiling. Who acts like that? As I was finally mercifully pulling out of the parking lot, I saw him and a very weary-looking woman, presumably his wife, walking towards their car. He was still gesticulating wildly, probably recounting his heroic confrontation with the undercover security guard. My hand instinctively went to the window button, it whirred down. He glanced over, caught my eye, and without a second thought I flipped him the bird, screaming, "Thanks for the help, asshole," before rolling up the window and peeling out of the lot. It was childish, I know, but man did it feel good. My date, bless her heart, understood. We had a great time despite my tardiness and still recovering nerves. And as for that middle-aged menace, I hope he enjoyed explaining to his wife why some random dude flipped him off in the Ross parking lot. Maybe, just maybe, he learned to mind his damn business.
You have to get him a car? Are you deaf or just lazy? The woman's voice shrieked, laced with an entitlement so thick you could choke on it. 1 second. I was just a woman, Julianne, minding my own business, sipping my lukewarm coffee and waiting for my mom's flight. The next, a hot, sticky wave of lukewarm Java was showering my face and the front of my trusty bright yellow windbreaker, all thanks to her enraged open palm. My head snapped back, the sharp smack still ringing in my ears. I felt the burn of the coffee, but it was nothing compared to the shock and pure, unadulterated fury that surged through me. "What the hell is your problem?" I yelled, wiping at my eyes. A stream of dark liquid tracing a path down my cheek? This wasn't just a bad morning. This was an assault. Let's back up a little to about 10 minutes before my entire morning got completely derailed. I was chilling by the arrivals gate, that gentle hum of airport life, a comforting backdrop. My mom's flight was due any minute, and I was just enjoying the last few sips of my rather mediocre airport coffee. The sun was streaming in, bouncing off the polished floors, and I was in a genuinely good mood. My bright yellow windbreaker, a hand-me-down I'd grown to love for its pockets and sheer comfort, was doing its job of keeping me cozy in the air-conditioned terminal. That's when a guy, mid-30s maybe, with a very frazzled expression, approached me. He looked genuinely lost. "Excuse me," he said, "do you know where I can get a rental car?" I'm completely turned around. Now, I'm a helpful person by nature, sometimes to a fault. I'd been through this airport a million times. "Oh, sure," I chirped, maybe a little too enthusiastically. I thought he was asking for directions, which I absolutely could provide. "I can definitely help you out with that." Before I could even point him in the right direction, a woman, Karen, let's call her because of course materialized out of thin air, practically elbowing the poor guy aside. She was already fuming, her face a mask of impatience. "Finally. Look, he needs a car now. Just go get him one." She gestured at me, then at the man as if I were a particularly slow-moving automaton. My brow furrowed. "Excuse me?" I said, genuinely confused. "I think you misunderstood. I don't work here. I was just going to tell him where the rental counters are." Karen scoffed, her eyes narrowing. She took in my yellow jacket, my comfortable jeans, and probably my coffee, and dismissed my words instantly. "Don't play dumb with me, honey. You've got the uniform on. You're supposed to be helping customers. Now stop wasting time and get him his damn car. He's been waiting ages." "Ma'am, I am not an employee," I repeated, trying to keep my voice even. My helpful enthusiasm was rapidly draining, replaced by a growing annoyance. This is just my jacket. I'm waiting for my mother. Her face went beet red. Don't you lie to me? I know an employee when I see one. You think you're clever trying to get out of work? I'll have your job. Now move it. She even took a step forward, practically invading my personal space. The frazzled man just sort of shrank back, looking utterly mortified. Look, lady, I don't know what to tell you, I said, my voice hardening. I wasn't about to be intimidated. I can't get him a car because I don't work here, and you need to back off. That was the line. That was the moment her entitled rage officially boiled over. Her eyes flashed, and before I could even register the movement, she lunged. The stinging slap against my hand, the sharp crack as my cup hit the floor, and the warm, bitter spray of coffee were all instantaneous. My vision was momentarily blurred, not just by the coffee, but by sheer shock. You crazy bee? The words were out of my mouth before I could filter them. It wasn't a fight I was looking for, but when someone physically attacks you, instinct takes over. I raised my hands defensively, pushing her back before she could try something else. All around us, the gentle hum of the airport dissolved into gasps and murmurs. People were staring. A few brave souls even started to approach, clearly wondering if they should intervene. The frazzled man was practically hiding behind a pillar. It felt like only seconds later that 2 airport officers were there, separating us. One had a firm grip on Karen, who was still screaming about my supposed incompetence and how I'd attacked her. The other officer, a calm woman with kind eyes, was looking at me, her expression concerned. "Ma'am, are you all right? What happened here?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady my shaking hands. She smacked my coffee out of my hand, officer. She thought I worked here because of my jacket and just wouldn't listen when I told her I didn't. She demanded I get this man a rental car, and when I refused, she attacked me. Karen, meanwhile, was still screeching. She refused to help. She was rude, and then she shoved me. Look at her, covered in coffee. She probably spilled it on herself trying to fight me. The officer listened patiently, then led me a few feet away from the still ranting Karen. She called for backup, and soon another officer was taking the man's statement. He, bless his soul, quickly corroborated my story, explaining his initial confusion and Karen's sudden, aggressive intervention. Then, almost like magic, a rental company manager appeared, drawn by the commotion. He confirmed that no one in a yellow windbreaker worked for any of the rental agencies. And then, the clincher, the security cameras, the officers had a clear view. They watched the footage, my calm explanation, Karen's escalating demands, the smack, my defensive push. It was all there, plain as day. Karen's face crumpled when they told her charges were being pressed for assault and battery. It was a bizarre mix of satisfaction and disbelief for me. I mean, who goes from help me find a rental to you're getting arrested in 10 minutes flat? By the time I'd given my statement and the officers were finishing up with Karen, my mom's flight had landed. Walking towards her, a faint coffee stain still on my jacket, a slight tremor in my hands, I actually let out a snort of laughter. It was just so utterly absurd. Mom, bless her, took one look at my disheveled state and the remnants of the coffee disaster, and before I could even explain, just pulled me into a hug, probably assuming I'd had some kind of clumsy accident. Later, over a much-needed, unsmacked coffee, I told her the whole ridiculous saga. We laughed until our sides hurt. But beneath the laughter, there was a sting of anger, a reminder that some people are just so lost in their own sense of entitlement, they'll literally assault a stranger over a misunderstanding. It's a wild world out there, r/IDontWorkHereLady, and sometimes you just gotta stand your ground, even if it means getting a coffee shower in the process.
This next story is just as wild. Give it a watch.